Okay, so welcome everyone to this tech talk on configuring OPUS solutions with no code that's being presented by Siva. Before we get started, I'm just going to explain just some housekeeping rules. This is being recorded, so if you could keep the lines muted until the end, and you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions. So Siva is going to be talking about configuring OPUS solutions with no code. He's the Director of Product Development for OPUS Solution Environment. So he's going to be talking about the advantages and nuances of configuring OPUS solutions without using any code. And he's basically serves as the Director of Product Development at TraceLink. So he's been leading the no-code development initiatives on the OPUS platform. He's been with TraceLink for 6 years and has been instrumental in developing this innovative technology, bringing to life TraceLink's vision of providing this exciting capability to our customers. His expertise in no-code solutions runs deep. So he's previously developed greenfield products that empower customers to implement changes independently using no-code capabilities. His background includes developing products utilized by some of the world's leading retailers and a major aircraft manufacturer. He's based in Boston, and he brings with him a wealth of product development experience and a passion for creating user-friendly, adaptable solutions that meet the evolving needs of businesses across industries. And before I hand over to Siva, I'm just going to go through our usual antitrust guidelines. So as always, our courses are public. So we just ask you not to engage any discussions regarding pricing, deal making, selling, promoting, or any other activities which could be seen as anti-competitive. And for our class guidelines, again, we have a limited time frame. So if you just want to, for our class guidelines, the next slide. We just ask you not to initiate any discussions around company-specific examples. Having said that, if you do have more in-depth questions about any use cases that you have, we can take those, of course, offline and look into them for you. So on that, I'm going to hand over to Siva now. Thank you so much, Siva.
Thanks, Laura. I'm pretty much excited today to show you all what we have from OSE and what you can do with OSE. So in this webinar, we are basically going to look at 3 foundational things. What can you really configure with OSE? Where can you start? And how to really configure. The third part is more interesting because we're going to see some real live demos for that. Let's begin with what really can be configured in OPUS. What you see here is a screen that all our end users get to see when they log into OPUS. On the top right-hand corner, you see a usual menu icon. When you click on it, users can open process networks and apps. And when they open the process networks, they can navigate the process networks. That's a bright green bar that you would see right there with a Go button. Now, up until that, right until that green bar is how you navigate OPUS and its network. But the moment our end user opens a process network, they are now experiencing the functionality within that. And the word we use for that is solutions. Now, everything below that green toolbar is foundationally the functionality the end user interact, which is provided by a solution. OSE stands for OPUS Solution Environment. Everything in OPUS is a solution. So here on the on the left-hand corner, numbered 1, you see a menu. So the solution gives the menu and the roles that the user can use in a menu. So that's what they get to see. And when the user clicks on a menu item, let's say here the purchase order, then it opens up a page that's marked as number 2 here. The entire area of number 2 is a page, and that's all developed without code. We'll see how. And we have three types of pages: a search page, which is very familiar, like a table of purchase orders. The other two are new page and view edit page. New page is a form where you can create a new purchase order. A view edit page is another form where you can view and edit your object, in this case, the purchase order. Now, every page has their own operations. So the area marked as number 3, that's a toolbar that contains every operations that's on the business object. They're actually more than the buttons. Each of those buttons actually correspond to APIs and operations on a purchase order. Those buttons were actually created by dragging and dropping, and we'll see how as well. Now, towards the rightmost, the one marked as number 4, you're seeing a push panel. Now, this push panel is the one that comes up when you open up a specific operation from the toolbar. Now, again, to recap, the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the screen, the menu, the pages, the operations on the pages, and the push panels, and much more, they're all packed into a solution. And everything in a solution is configurable. So we just saw what can be configured in a solution. So now we'll move on and say, how can I configure a solution? So every user experience and the functionality of an app that TraceLink ships are always in the form of these solutions. We call them standard solutions. For simplicity's sake, imagine that's our industry standard for marketplaces. So our catalog of solutions carry all the standard solutions for every app we ship. And typically when a customer licenses our app, they get the standard solution out of the box. The standard solutions are only maintained by TraceLink. Customers cannot actually change them. Now, imagine standard solution is like a document that was shared with you, which you cannot edit, or a PowerPoint which was shared with you, which you cannot edit. Now, what if you want to make some changes? That's where the OAC comes into picture. Now, like you can take a PowerPoint, and let's say like you want to make some changes on the PowerPoint, you typically go to Google Drive or Microsoft Tools, take the PowerPoint, you make a copy, you just do a save as, file save as. And when you save as, you get entire copy, you can do any changes you want on top of it. It doesn't affect the actual file from where you saved, you copied it from. In a very similar manner, the standard solutions we shipped and we maintained are not changeable. You can use them, but you can't change them. But you can use the OSC to go access and browse the standard solution. That's where you see the catalog of standard solutions. Then you can pick the standard solution you're interested in. You can just do a save as, like you would save a document. When you save as, it creates a company solution. You get your own copy, and you're free to make any changes on the company solution. Everything we saw in the previous slide, below that big green bar, they're all in your hands now. You can make those changes via your OPUS. In addition to the standard solution, TraceLink also works with partners. Our solution partners develop additional solutions around the same app, and they are also available in the same manner from the marketplace. So customers can go and browse the standard or marketplace solutions and save as and create company solutions. Now, you really don't need an IDE or any coding environment to do that. Most of the no-code or so-called no-code, low-code tools actually make you develop these kind of things on an IDE, or you have to download and do things on your computer, end up writing some amount of code. OPUS OSE is truly no-code and truly cloud-based. What this means is that any user can log into OPUS, like an end user using Mint or any other app, And they can make these changes right in our OPUS cloud environment. And those changes are exclusively maintained only for our customers. Like, let's say customer A is making some changes that the customer B never get to see those changes, and they're very local, like how we manage our data securely. And they do all of this on the OPUS web interface, and they don't need coding for that. So that's where you start. Now let's move on and actually look at how you can do that. So in order to explain this, we're going to show this with a little use case perspective. So in this use case, imagine Kendall is a customer of TraceLink. So Kendall has licensed Mint, and they started using Mint standard solution. And there are two users we are talking about, Debbie and Sally. So Debbie is an end user. Debbie works for Kendall. Debbie's day job is to go create purchase orders for Kendall's departments. Debbie knows nothing about making changes. Now, Sally also works for Kendall, and Sally is a little tech savvy, but really you don't need to be tech savvy to use this. But Sally actually is responsible, has beyond working in Kendall, she's responsible for making sure that the process are more accurate and fine-tuned to their internal needs. So that's Sally's responsibility. Now, she's not from IT. She's not from IT department at all, but she has interest in making things better. So Sally can make changes for Kendall, and let's see how she can do that. So what you're seeing here is Sally logging in, Debbie logging in, and you see the green bar, and below that the process network, and they can see the menus. This is a regular user experience, end user experience. In this case, they are having a purchase order. They're looking at the purchase order, a search page of purchase orders. They open a purchase order, and when they open a purchase order, they get to go to the page that has all the details. They're viewing the purchase order. And if they want to make changes, they can actually look at the toolbar, and it has an edit button, and they typically click on the edit button to make changes. Now, imagine that Debbie came in and said, hey, we need to make some changes. Now, Debbie wants to use OSE to make changes. Now, Debbie logged in. So I'm going to pause there for a moment and focus on what we just saw. Now, when Debbie logged in, and she is having the same experience, Sally logged in, she's having the same experience that Debbie had. Nothing different, no ID, no coding. But in addition, Sally sees something called OPUS Solution Environment. It appears like any other app. Now, Sally can open that. And when Sally opens that, it gets another tab, very similar to how end users work. Now, they get into the standard solutions. Excuse me. They see the standard solution for Mint. They can choose the standard solution. It gives you the detail, the version, and they hit Save As. That's it. And when they hit the Save As, they give some company name, the solution name for them. For example, I want to make some changes for my procurement and payment process, and then say Apply. Now, what it did is that behind the scenes, it created an exclusive copy of the standard solution to this company. So I'm going to pause there for a moment and focus on what happened. That when I go to my company solutions on the left menu, I see another solution here. And that's fundamentally a new solution that is created for this company. And the users from that company can make changes to the solution. Okay, now inside the solution, you see a bunch of things. Now these are all, imagine solution is a box that comes with things that are necessary for you to use it. So it has business objects, workflows, the menus, the left-hand side of a solution, the roles that controls what you get, but more importantly, the pages. The pages are the user experience in a solution. So how do you do it? Now I go and say, I want to make changes to the pages. Now, when I say I'm going to pause there for a moment and focus on what just happened. Now, I opened a page in the solution in its editing mode. I'm not developing, editing mode. So what does that mean? Now, if you look at the screen closely, there is something different. It looks very similar to the page that the end user actually used, but when actually I go in and open the page, there is a big green bar. This is very different. It's a big green bar with some tools on the top. You see an edit button. You are actually editing a page live. Now, of course, we have different controls which prevents people from not editing that people are using. So because we are conscious about processes. So in this case, imagine this is something in validation, and I'm editing this now. Like in any other documentation tools, what you're seeing is like a live view. What you see is what you get, and all the design tools associated. Now, on the left-hand side is all fields of the business objects. Now, you're not actually designing a screen. You're looking at the business object, let's say purchase order, and fields of purchase order, like acknowledgement step, purchase order type. These are fields in the purchase order. You're dragging and dropping the fields from your business object. Sally knows only business objects. Sally knows nothing about coding. So she can actually compose this page, even though we are showing something which is being edited, she can build something from the scratch for existing business objects. Now, what we saw is like dragging and dropping some simple fields, but that's not the power of OSE. The power of OSE is more. So imagine the purchase order has a collection of nodes. Now it has remarks and nodes. And that's in the programming parlance, it's an array of type defs, or rather like it's an array which contains more fields. Now we can actually design those as well. You can drag and drop an nodes array. It will become a different experience. Then you can design what you want inside that. Now that's something that's not available elsewhere. Now let's take a step back, step more. Now a purchase order typically has line items. Before we go into line items, let's also do something else. Let's say you want to make changes to the pages. You can do all those things. You can move fields around. Now you can change sections. You can create sections. You can organize the fields in the way that is useful for the end users. All those are available in addition to making a page relevant for your use cases. Fundamentally, use cases, user experience, we cover everything. Now, purchase orders have purchase order line items. Now, purchase order line items are a little bit more complex than the nodes. So what you see here is actually line items which appear as a table. Now, you can actually even drag and drop and design them. So you can drag and drop a line item. It will become a table without any coding. Like when you dropped a date, we show a date field. You don't need coding for it. In a very same manner, you can drag and drop a purchase order line item inside purchase order. It'll become a line item table with zero coding. Then you can go onto the table inside this big form and choose fields inside that. It's not only that. You can also actually design the panels that come from that. If you remember one of the screen we saw, there are panels. The panels are the one how you interact with these tables. You can design every field that goes into the panels. Okay, so I made all the changes. Sally made all the changes. Okay, great. Here it is. She can see all the changes were made. And Sally can activate this for the users in the company. Now Debbie logs in. Now Debbie has the same experience. Now we switch things behind. If Debbie goes in, she can see this acknowledgement type, and she can see the fields, the order of fields changed, the new column that was added, the unit of measure, new column that was added to the table, and the notes as well. Let's try to edit this. Now, it's not just the simple fields, and it's very straightforward. But let's just go and see how the experience looks when I have this advanced structures like nodes or other things. and I can add more notes here. And when I do so, this is all something we created with the drag and drop experience. And I can create as many nodes I want. Typically, it's called arrays, but no, Sally didn't even know that's an array. That's it. So that's what happens when you actually make changes with OSE. So we saw basically a very simple things you can do. We showed you how to make changes to the UI. You can actually make changes to the menus. You can make changes to the roles. You can even do more than that. You can actually go ahead and make changes to the business object. You can add your own fields. You can add your own structures such as line items, complex structures. You can do those things as well. And when you do those things in the no-code manner, you can come back to the UI, drag and drop, and add them. The same way, the business objects come with workflows. Those workflows are also configurable in the no-code manner. So in this webinar, we are focusing on few use cases to give you all a power of OSE. But if you're interested, we'll have more sessions that explain how you can configure business objects and change UI, how you can configure workflows in your solution and change UI and add logic and everything with no-code. Now, I want to touch upon, I hope that was interesting, but I want to touch upon a very, very important aspect of how you can take this power. Now, we did show you that you can take OSE, make changes for your own users in your company to improve that process, because not every two companies is the same. Even within a company, not two departments are the same. So you can make different business objects, different UI, address process problems, address business needs, and improve user experience, bring in efficiencies. But there's more beyond this. So OPUS is natively built for multi-enterprise work management. So what this means? Now, if you are a buyer using Mint, there will be multiple sellers, so they are partners, and they are in your process network. And traditional systems don't give flexibility to your partners, your trade partners. Now, OSE gives you the ability to actually make changes to the user experience of your trade partner. So let's take this case. Let's say it's the same network. We have two trade partners, Monroe and Sal devices. And when they log in, to begin with, they have given different roles, and they get to see the same user experience. But let's say Monroe users work with some complex orders, so they need a different experience or different process feel on the UI. So what Sally can do is actually make a specific user experience just for Monroe. So what you're going to see here is Sally logging in to OSE. And last time we actually edited a search view edit page. This time we are actually designing a search page from the scratch. So Sally is creating in the same solution, company solution. Sally can create a page. This is from the scratch. This is how we build everything inside TraceLink. So you see there's nothing there, just now empty page. But there's a structure. You can't do anything because there's no code. So you can set the titles of your page, which is pretty straightforward. Now, everybody knows that. But what's more important is that I can design this page by dragging and dropping the fields I need on my table for my Monroe partner. So I go to the fields, like we saw all those fields in the business objects fields on the previous demo. So here I'm seeing similar fields of this business object. I can drag and drop those things, and I can configure them. Like, if they are dates, you want to make some changes to how they are displayed, all those are possible. Then you can reorder, you can configure sort, you can configure filtering. We'll not get into those nuances today, but all of those is possible, the same user experience editor that you saw here. Now, the next thing I need to do is that I would go and create a different access experience for Monroe users. So I would create a role for them. In that role, I would just say, hey, now instead of using the usual page that is served for all partners, just change the new page that I created for Monroe and apply it. That's it. When the Monroe users log in again, now they get to see the new experience, which is different from what they saw before. Now, you can take OSE to fundamentally improvise and make your processes efficient, not just within your company for your departments. You can even extend that to every trade partners. There are some limits when you go to trade partners, like they can have only modified user experience, but the business processes also cannot be changed per trade partners. Okay, so that's a wrap of what you actually saw from, what you saw was like what you can do with OSC. Now, I want to re-stress again that the two important things that I logged in like any other user and did all this thing in the cloud. It's like using an OPUS app. That's it, nothing different. Okay, so let's look at a summary of what we just saw. To begin with, we learned what a solution is. To summarize, a solution is a box which carries user experience, workflows, related business objects, their fields, the menus and roles. And these solutions are available in the catalog. So the power of catalog with standard and marketplace allows our customers to actually take them and make changes to them. The second thing we saw is a seamless configuration, the no-code interface that we gave you. So once you do this, then you can tailor every aspect of the solution. Then nothing stops you. There are certain standard things like business objects, but if you want to make changes to the business object, you can actually create your own business object copying from the standard solution. Then you can configure for your needs. You have different needs. Your UI needs to be different. Your workflow needs to be different. You can make all those changes. Now, you can also design roles. Apart from the standard roles, you can create your own roles and design the right left-hand side navigation experience. But beyond that, we give you a truly multi-enterprise capability of making changes specific to partners with certain limits. Now, all this is pretty quick to implement. It doesn't take days, it literally takes hours to make changes. Of course, the amount of change is the only thing which takes more time. So that's what OSE is. I'm pretty excited today to present this great capability from PriceLink, which we are like giving to our solution partners and customers. Thank you. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Siva. That was really insightful, and just also seeing the use cases as well and how powerful OSE can be. I guess I know, Rebecca, you might have questions, so I'll just see if you've got any questions first before I ask some questions.
I don't.
No? Okay, well, I do have a couple of questions. Are there any skills that a user would need to have to use OSE or to have it configured in the system?
That's a good question, Lara. So the easier way I would put it is that what skills somebody from your organization need to use, let's say, PowerPoint, right? It's the same way. You don't need any programming or IT skills. You just need to get trained on how to use OSE, understand its concepts, and that's it. We don't have any skills necessary, any skill needs for this one.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. And are there any restraints that a customer may need to consider when using OSE?
So number one, you would need to license OSE to get access. So number two, we do support full trace links now capability to have validation and production. So we recommend customers to make changes in validation, test it, and move to production. And all this are seamless, and as we saw. The third thing is that they work within the given app. So TraceLink has a concept of apps, and each app comes with solutions. So Mint is an app. So they work within the app's boundaries. They understand what the app business objects are. They can not create their own business object, but they can extend the business objects. To keep it simple, imagine there's a purchase order and ASN. These are business objects that come with Mint. You can add fields, but you really not invent your own business object. So as of now, so those are the restraints. Other than that, we don't have any other restraints.
So we have the set orchestrations. It's just about what a customer can define within those orchestrations. Or when I say orchestrations, like the actual transaction, that's standard, but then the flexibility within that transaction.
Absolutely. You made it, you summarized it very well. Yes. If we speak in terms of Mint, the transactions are standard. So our business objects are built on transactions. So yes, you get the flexibility around it. That's what the app brings in. Now, if there's a new transaction, it's a TraceLink that brings in a new transaction.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then how long does it take to make changes with OSE? Just last question.
That's a great question. So it's just minutes and hours. So once you have the right training, it fundamentally takes you if you look at what we just did today to make that kind of UI change, it's literally within an hour. And that, no, I didn't speed up that video. If you want to make, let's say, basic simple UI changes, it's minutes. If you want to build some more nuanced roles, it's 1 or 2 hours. If you want to make some more changes, such as hey, I want to add fields, I want to test workflows and logic changes, it's the actual work of making those changes are still within the magnitude of hours. You just need to test them with your users. That's the time it takes.
And you can revert back to the kind of factory settings.
That's a great question. Yes, there are a couple of ways you can do that. The first way is that you can always go back to the standard solution that TraceLink gave anytime, right? No issues. But there's also another way you can do that. That's when you actually create your company solutions, we allow you to maintain versions of it. Imagine you do some Google Doc, it has its own versions, right? You can revert back to the version. Similar way, when you create a company solution, you're actually working on version 1 of it, and then you're ready, you push your version 1, users are using it. When you want to make changes, you'll make changes on the version 2. Users are not affected. So when you're ready, you push your version 2, great, people are using it. Now at some situation you realize you want to go back to version 1, you can actually go back to your catalog and pull down the version 1 and activate. So those are the 2 ways you can do it. Thanks, Lara. Thanks, everyone.